we're going to do something that we have never done before on the show. Paul and I have laid out a practice routine that is worthy of your time this summer. One of the elements of this concept is an idea that I came up with. I know it sounds funny, and it's supposed to be, but I have invented something that will replace the scale.
Okay.
Here's the old scale, by the way. Have you heard this before? That is the accepted way to play scales. It has been for an awfully long time. I have made many discoveries in music that have already been discovered. But so what? Okay. Organizing this material has always been a passion for me.
You and I have had multiple discussions over the years on how to best communicate an understanding of the function of these scales. Because so many times you're dealing with instrumentalists, they don't make that connection between their instrument and what they're hearing. By the same token, you deal with a lot of vocalists who don't think that the theory is anything important.
Or they separate theory from music and they think that theory is the harder thing and they'd rather just play music. The two are so interconnected, and I suggest learning them at the same time, and that's what this is all about. So I have a worksheet here. I'm just going to show a little bit at a time because I don't want it to be overwhelming. I call it the Perpetual Motion Scale over Major Modes. It works for all 7-note scales. Students ask all the time, how much practicing is enough practicing? If you can play the exercise by memory, you have now begun to practice. It doesn't begin until you can play it by memory. It won't take but a few passes to memorize this. This is the first mode, the Aeolian mode of the D major scale. So let me play it for you.
The shape of this, it's scalar, but you do have change in direction in certain places. What does that offer?
It offers the relationship between the 1 and the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the first time you hear the 7. But here, with this kind of a scale, you immediately learn the relationship between the 7th note of the scale and the 1st. And now you'll hear a dramatic difference as we shift to the next scale because it's Dorian, and the Dorian mode has a flat 7. All we're doing is playing the D scale starting on an E, and that gives us the second mode, the Dorian mode. Hey, Paul, can you play that D minor 7?
Yeah.
Complete with dog barks.
That's right.
Now, can you go back to the first chord?
Okay.
When you have an accompanist, it just sounds brilliant. You can program iReal Pro to accompany you as well. The whole time you're playing the D scale. However, by breaking it up by mode, you're going to be experiencing so many wonderful new sounds. F sharp minor 7 is starts on the 3rd note of the D scale, and this is the Phrygian sound. Next is this Lydian scale. This is the Lydian sound. That's why these modes are so important, is because they introduce to us these other sounds that we can get into our heads and use in our playing. Here's the Mixolydian, the 5 chord. Oh, I like the way you did that, Paul. Here's the 6th mode. This is the Aeolian mode. The Aeolian mode always sounds to me like God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. Aeolian is the key of the natural minor. That's an exciting scale. Okay, here's the last one. This is the weirdest one, the most misunderstood. It's the Locrian mode. I wrote this one more pattern, which is based on something we've already talked about on the show.
Taquita in Takaland.
Taquita in Takaland was one of the comic books that I drew for the students at the Orange County School of the Arts when I was a teacher there. I made a series of educational comic books, but one of them explained the concept of konakal, the syllables that are used in Indian music. Indian, not American Indian.
Yeah.
And for eighth notes or for groupings of two, taka, taka, taka. And for groupings of three, taquita. Well, I'll sing this little pattern to you with the syllables. Taka, 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 taquita, taka, 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 taquita, taka, 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 taquita, taka, 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 taquita. If you have a bunch of takas and one taquita, you can move that taquita anywhere you want. You can put it on beat 1, taquita, taka, taka, taka. You can put it on beat 2, taka, taquita, taka, taka. Beat 3, taka, taka, taquita, taka. Here it's on beat 4. This is how you would play the perpetual motion scale pattern in 2 octaves. Well, I think it's time for the game. So I'm going to choose one of these. I'm going to play it, and he's going to tell you which one it is.
Let's do it. Phrygian.
That is correct.
Aeolian.
That is correct.
Mixolydian.
That is correct.
Locrian.
That is correct.
That's Dorian.
Yes, indeed, that is Dorian. Here's the last one, Paul. Good luck.
Okay. You're an Ionian there.
Ionian is the correct answer. Okay, so isn't that a fun way to perceive the major modes using this new scale pattern, which I like to call the perpetual motion scale? There is one drawback to this scale. It doesn't give you any place to breathe. You have to use the length of your breath to play the thing as many times as you like. I like groupings of 3 to begin with. As it becomes more comfortable, on that same breath, see if you can do 6. The muscle memory comes from repetition. So the goal is just to get yourself to play it as many times as possible.
In today's world, the modes are the basis for a lot of different compositions out there. Dorian is probably the most common one. If those of you who know Miles Davis, the song So What is written in Dorian. That's the whole Dorian mode. A lot of people don't realize how prevalent the Mixolydian mode is out there. Right? Perfect example, the song by the Champs, Tequila.
That's what I always think of. Yes.
Remember the horn line on Midnight Hour, right?
Right.
Here's the Mixolydian, right? Lydian, right? If you're familiar with West Side Story, it's all about the Lydian mode, right? That's Maria or Cool, right? Something's coming, right? That's all Lydian. Are you a Sting fan, Gary?
Sure, of course. Who's not?
You know the song When We Dance? Right? That's Lydian. A lot of people like to think about Phrygian being used a lot in flamenco, like, right? I'm a Star Trek fan, classic Star Trek fan. There's a lot of Phrygian in the incidental music from classic Trek. Okay, that's the Phrygian mode.
Oh, that's very cool.
Here's the one which everyone thinks is the most difficult one, Locrian, right? Okay. One of my favorite shows is Emergency. Do you know who composed the music to Emergency, the theme song? Billy May. And it's Locrian with one blue note in there. There's the blue note.
When I play, I think of numbers. 1, 4, flat 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? I think in numbers. However, Paul started as a singer.
I had a teacher who had trained in Kodai and drilled us in solfege. At the age of 9, I joined the All-American Boys course, and everything was solfege. In fact, we had to learn all our parts in solfege before we would even tackle the lyrics.
So this next exercise is going to give you a unique arpeggio, the solfeggio, on the exercise. And it's going to give you the perpetual motion scale, which is that new scale.
The purpose of this is to develop hearing function.
This was started on the 1, and then the 2, and then the 3, and then the 4.
Those are in sequential order. Right?
These, however, are in the order of function. This one is a 2, this one is a 5, this one is a 1. It's the most common chord progression in jazz. Here's E minor 7. Play the sound of the chord, and then follow it by the sound of the scale.
Re, fa, la, do, re, do, la, fa, re.
So if you've never done solfeggio before, may I suggest that the first thing you try to do is just say the syllables. Re, fa, la, do, re, do, la, fa. Once your lips and teeth can form those syllables, get in front of a piano and attach the pitches to them. Can you do the scale as well?
Re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re.
Okay, let's move on to this Mixolydian. So here's now the D major. Here's the Ionian. So now we're on this G Lydian.
And this is where things start getting interesting.
As you can see here, the notes are not spaced out as they were before. I mean, this chord should have a G, B, D, and an F sharp. But look, no D, but instead a C sharp.
That's to create the Lydian sound.
So that's unusual to my fingers. I'll just try to make it into something a little bit more interesting. Really gets the sound of the mode in my head when I do it that way.
Absolutely.
Do you want to solfege that?
La, ti, mi, fa, mi, ti, la, fa.
Okay, here's the Aeolian. Why would we have a G in there?
It's to get that natural minor sound in there. La, do, mi, fa, mi, do, la.
The next mode is the Phrygian. That's that Spanish sounding mode.
Mi, fa, ti, re, ti, fa, mi. And the really cool thing is that half step at the beginning. That's the characteristic of Phrygian.
The Phrygian mode is like a natural minor, but you add a flat 2.
Yeah.
So finally, here's the Locrian. This one is the most fun to me. It might be the incidental music on My Favorite Martian. You know what I mean? That's just got a really whimsical sound to it.
Ti, do, fa, la, ti, la, fa, do, ti.
And I'm going to make this available on our Adventures with Gary and Paul page so that you can print it out, spend time with it. If you start with the first page, you'll be learning the modes in order and applying the perpetual motion scale. It's just so useful to play that perpetual motion scale. Then come on over to the second page of this. And now here is a more advanced way to learn not just the arpeggios, but the solfeggio.
And this is the one way it really helped to dial those functions in for me.
This is what music is made of. These are the ingredients that are necessary, and the more you have a handle on them, the more happy you'll be through your life as a musician.
Good, great stuff, man.
Oh, that was so fun to present that. We both want so much to give our students the shortest and best route to success.